Hello everybody, in this video we're going to be working on my first ever scale model video for this channel with this Tiger 1 tank. So this Tiger is going to be part of a overarching diorama which will come in later videos. So to kick things off, we're going to just come in with some German Grey. This is from Vallejo, and it's going to be a quick all over coverage over the entirety of the Tiger. Now what I'm looking for here, it just needs to be a uniform colour essentially. So we're going to just try and hit every aspect that is going to be our Panzer Grey later on. Once that is all blocked in, we're now going to come in with just a simple brighter grey tone. So I'm going to be using Mechanical Standard Grey here by GW. And this time around, instead of doing a clean overarching coverage, what we're going to do instead, you can see it with my finger there, we're going to be doing very short bursts of paint with the airbrush, which will give us a more natural kind of look that you would see on a real life tank. And this randomness will actually also help later on with weathering as well, because it just will help to give a overall kind of weathered look to the grey before we even go and use any form of like pigments or anything like that. And finally, for the grey tones, we're now going to need an even lighter grey. So we're using Slate Grey here by Greenstuff World, and it is the exact same approach. So we're still using those very short, very quick bursts of paint. And this time around, we're looking for areas where the light would hit the most. So you're looking at the tops of the side skirts, tops of the turrets, things like that. And here we are after doing all of the airbrushing. So you can see by doing those short bursts of paint, we get this more texturized look. So we've got nice easy shading in there and nice bright highlights before we even do any form of washes or anything like that. So up next, we are going to actually start those washes. So what we're going to do at the first is go back to our original grey tone, so this is that Panzer Grey, and this is just because it's a nice dark grey tone. And what we're going to look to do is apply this in areas where dirt and grime and stuff would form, and then feather it out over the actual tank itself. So you can see here, we're applying it initially, wicking off our brush, keeping it semi-damp, and then feathering that wash out across the flat part of the panel. And here is the tank after that shading. So you can see what I mean by doing that shading. It just helps to actually really darken down the tank, which is really good for when we later do some form of weathering. However, of course, it has got rid of a few of those highlights. So what we're going to do is just come back in with our brightest grey tone and a dry brush. And we're just going to dry brush across the actual tank, hitting all of those raised parts just to bring back some of that pop. And here we go. So after the dry brushing has all been done, this is the finished part of the actual Panzer Grey element of the tank itself. So next up, we're going to start working on the actual weathering elements of the model. So this is actually some Rhinox hide, which is just a dark brown on a bit of sponge, and we're going to come in and start doing some chipping. So all I'm doing, as you can see here, is we've got some of that Rhinox hide on our sponge and we've just wiped off a good chunk of it. Think of it almost like a dry brush. And we're just going to come in and just stipple this across the tank. And what it will do is just leave random little deposits of that brown, and it will help to give the idea and the resemblance of chipping. So with the chipping elements all done, we're now going to do some oil streaking effects. So the way this works, I've got 4 different tones here. I've got some blue, because the blue will just help to actually emphasize the Panzer Grey element of it. Got some white, some brown, and some black. And all we're really doing is come in, and we're just going to do random little dots of these oil paints across the tank, and then using a large flat brush that is partly damp with mineral spirits, we're going to come in and just pull the oil paints down, and it will give us a really nice streaking effect. And here we go. So after the oil paints have all been dry, you can see what I mean, especially on top of that turret there, you get this really nice like oil streak that is running down it. So for our next bit of weathering, we've got some mud. So the overarching actual diorama for this is going to be a very muddy kind of look. So I'm going to be applying a good chunk of this over the actual tracks. So all we're doing is taking some Dark Earth by AK and just applying this just very liberally over the entirety of the tracks and the actual wheels. And then we're going to bring some of this up onto the side skirts as well. After that, we're now going to take some AK wet ground, and we're going to do a flicking motion with this just to give it a splattering kind of look, also across like the side skirts and up onto the side of the tank itself as well. And here we go. So with the mud all dry, you can see it gives a really nice, really cool effect. And again, it's going to help to actually set that tank in our later diorama. So for our final bit of weathering, we're just going to take some burnt umber pigment powders, and we're only going to use a little bit of this because these can be quite potent and quite powerful. You can see here, we're just applying it into areas where the dust and stuff would gather, and then just coming in with a dry brush and just whipping off a good chunk of it and helping it to actually blend into the rest of the tank. And with those pigment powders all done, the actual Tiger 1 tank and all of its weathering is now basically finished. There's a few little bits and bobs, like some tracks on the turret ring just there, that I'll just be painting off camera, but for the most part, this is the Tiger 1 tank all completely finished. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like I say, this is the first time I've really sort of properly delved into the world of scale modeling. Obviously, normally I tend to just paint Warhammer, but it's a lot of fun, and the next video is going to be the diorama aspect of this Tiger 1 tank.